Mitchell, my love, will you marry me?
Graham, I can't. No. I just can't wait to meet my little one.
That's nice, Greta, but my focus is solely on becoming a surgeon.
I'm sorry, I can't marry you. The words hung in the air like a death sentence as 30 pairs of eyes stared at Mitchell in complete shock. Her boyfriend Graham had just proposed in front of both their families at an elegant restaurant, and she had just shattered every dream they thought they shared. But this moment didn't happen overnight. This is the story of how one woman chose her destiny over everyone else's expectations, and the shocking twist that would change everything 20 years later. Graham checked his expensive watch for the third time, his jaw tightening with each passing minute. When Mitchell finally rushed through the cafe doors, her medical textbooks clutched against her chest, he didn't even look up from his phone. "I'm so sorry I'm late, Graham. My anatomy class ran longer than expected, and Professor Weber wanted to discuss." "Why are you always studying, Mitchell?" Graham interrupted, his voice sharp with irritation. "When are you going to quit this ridiculous medical school obsession?" Mitchell's books nearly slipped from her hands. "Quit? Graham, I'm not quitting medical school. I've dreamed of becoming a surgeon since I was 8 years old." "Don't be naive," Graham said, finally looking at her with condescending eyes. "How are you going to be a good wife and mother if you're working 100-hour weeks? My mother was right. You need to think about your real future." Mitchell's hands began to tremble slightly, a nervous habit she'd had since childhood. "We're not even engaged yet, Graham. Why are you planning my entire life?" Graham noticed her shaking hands and smirked. "Look at you, nervous and sweaty palms. Ever since you were little, you've had this problem. How can someone with shaky hands perform delicate surgery? You'd drop the scalpel and kill someone." The words hit Mitchell like physical blows. She stared at her hands, suddenly conscious of every slight tremor. "Maybe," Graham continued, his voice softening with fake concern, "you're just not meant to be a surgeon. There's no shame in admitting your limitations." That evening at dinner with Graham's parents, the conversation took an even darker turn. His mother, Ingrid, dabbed her lips with a napkin and smiled sweetly at Mitchell. "Darling, Graham told us about your little medical school phase. It's admirable, really, but don't you think it's time to focus on what truly matters? Family, children, supporting your husband's career." Graham's father, Friedrich, nodded approvingly. "My son is going to be very successful in business. He'll need a wife who can dedicate herself to creating a proper home." "But I want to save lives," Mitchell whispered, her voice barely audible. "Sweetheart," Ingrid laughed, "why would a woman want to cut people open when she could be nurturing her own children instead? It's just not natural." Graham squeezed Mitchell's hand under the table, but not in comfort, in warning. "You have to be realistic, Mitchell. You don't handle stress well. Remember last week when you couldn't even order at that busy restaurant? Surgery requires nerves of steel." Mitchell felt the familiar heat rising in her cheeks, her palms growing damp. Maybe they were right. Maybe she was fooling herself. The next day in surgical simulation class, Professor Weber, a distinguished woman in her 50s, was demonstrating suturing techniques on practice models. "Remember, precision is everything. Every movement must be deliberate and controlled," Professor Weber announced to the class. "Treat this as if it's a real patient. One mistake could mean the difference between life and death." Mitchell stepped up to her station, her hands visibly shaking. As she picked up the surgical instruments, she could hear Graham's voice echoing in her mind, "Sweaty hands, you'll drop the scalpel. Her hands trembled so violently that she knocked over a tray of instruments. The metallic crash echoed through the silent classroom as 20 pairs of eyes turned to stare at her. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to," Mitchell began, her face burning with embarrassment. "It's all right," Professor Weber said gently. "We'll end here for today." As students began packing up, Professor Weber approached Mitchell privately. "There's a shadowing opportunity with a brilliant surgeon I went to medical school with. Dr. Elizabeth Hoffman. She's one of the best cardiac surgeons in the country. I'd like to recommend you." Mitchell's heart raced, but then Graham's words crept back in. "I don't know if I'm cut out for surgery, Professor. My family and my boyfriend, they don't think I have what it takes." "Maybe they're right." Professor Weber studied Mitchell's face carefully. "Surgery is demanding, yes. But the only person who can decide if you're meant for this is you. What do you want, Mitchell? What would make you feel fulfilled?" I want to save lives. But what if I'm not strong enough?" "Consider the opportunity," Professor Weber said firmly. "Don't let anyone else write your story." That weekend, Mitchell rushed home after a long day of classes, exhausted but excited to tell Graham about the shadowing opportunity. She found him sprawled on the couch, scrolling through his phone. "Graham, I have incredible news. Professor Weber recommended me for a shadowing experience with Dr. Elizabeth Hoffman. She's one of the top cardiac surgeons in Austria. It's this Saturday at the General Hospital." Graham didn't even look up from his phone. "Saturday? We have dinner with my business partners, Stefan and Greta. I already confirmed we'd be there." "But Graham, I told you about this opportunity weeks ago. This could change my entire future." "Your future?" Graham finally looked at her, his expression darkening. "Mitchell, when are you going to stop this childish fantasy? A successful man needs a supportive wife, not someone chasing impossible dreams." At dinner with Stefan and Greta, the conversation quickly turned personal. Greta, glowing with pregnancy, couldn't stop talking about her excitement. "We're expecting our first baby," she announced. "Stefan and I are over the moon." "Congratulations," Mitchell said genuinely. "That's wonderful news." "I'm sure you and Graham will be next," Stefan grinned. "Nothing better than starting a family young." "Actually," Mitchell said carefully, "I'm focusing on medical school right now. After graduation, I have years of surgical residency ahead of me." The table fell silent. Graham's face flushed red with embarrassment. "Well," Greta said awkwardly, "you won't need all that education when Graham becomes successful. He can take care of everything." "I don't want to be taken care of," Mitchell said, her voice stronger than she expected. "I want to take care of others, as a doctor." Graham kicked her under the table. "What Mitchell means is that she's still figuring things out." "No, Graham. I know exactly what I want. I want to be a surgeon." The drive home was tense and silent until Graham finally exploded. "Do you have any idea how embarrassing that was? My business partners think I can't even control my own girlfriend." "Control me?" Mitchell stared at him in disbelief. "You know what I mean. Why are you so obsessed with this surgery thing anyway? You've told me the story 100 times. Some doctor saved your life when you were little. But Mitchell, that was 20 years ago. When are you going to let it go?" "Let it go? Graham, I wouldn't be alive if it weren't for Dr. Hoffman. She's the reason I want to become a surgeon." "It's the same Dr. Hoffman you're supposed to shadow." "Yes, and I'm not missing this opportunity." Graham pulled the car over abruptly. "Mitchell, listen to me very carefully. My parents are hosting a family brunch this Saturday. Everyone will be there. My grandparents, my aunts and uncles, everyone. You will be there too. Graham, I can't. This shadowing experience could determine my entire career. And my family brunch could determine our entire relationship. Choose wisely. Friday morning, Professor Weber approached Mitchell after class, noticing her distracted demeanor. Everything all right? You seem worried about something. Professor, I'm sorry, but I won't be able to make the shadowing appointment tomorrow. Something came up. Professor Weber's expression grew concerned. Mitchell, opportunities like this don't come often. Dr. Hoffman specifically requested to meet you based on my recommendation. I know, and I'm grateful, but if you change your mind, just show up at the hospital at 1 p.m. Dr. Hoffman will be waiting. Saturday arrived, and Mitchell found herself at an elegant restaurant, surrounded by Graham's extended family. She felt completely out of place, her mind constantly drifting to the hospital where Dr. Hoffman was probably wondering why she hadn't shown up. Mitchell, put that phone away, Graham's mother whispered harshly. It's incredibly rude. Sorry, Mitchell mumbled, sliding her phone into her purse. Suddenly, Graham stood up, tapping his wine glass with a knife. The restaurant quieted down as all eyes turned to him. Thank you all for being here today. As you know, family is everything to me, and I feel incredibly lucky to have found someone as beautiful and caring as Mitchell. Mitchell's heart began racing as she realized what was happening. Mitchell is everything I could want in a future wife and mother, Graham continued, reaching into his jacket pocket. Which is why I wanted to ask you, in front of everyone we love. He dropped to one knee, pulling out a diamond ring that caught the light brilliantly. Mitchell Maria Schneider, will you marry me? The entire restaurant erupted in applause. Mitchell felt the world spinning around her. Every face was staring at her expectantly, Graham's parents beaming with pride, his grandparents nodding approvingly, strangers at nearby tables watching the romantic scene unfold. Just say yes, Graham whispered, his smile tight. Everyone's waiting. Mitchell looked at the ring, then at Graham's confident face, then at all the expectant expressions surrounding her. Professor Weber's words echoed in her mind. What do you want, Mitchell? What would make you feel fulfilled? Time seemed to slow down as she thought about Dr. Elizabeth Hoffman waiting at the hospital, about her dreams of saving lives, about the little girl she used to be who almost died and was saved by a brilliant surgeon. No. The word came out stronger than she expected. The applause died instantly, replaced by shocked silence. What? Graham's smile faltered. I said no, Graham. I can't marry you. Gasps echoed throughout the restaurant. Graham's face went from confusion to embarrassment to rage in seconds. You're joking, he said through gritted teeth. This is not funny, Mitchell. I'm not joking. I want to be a surgeon. I need to focus on my career right now. Graham's mother stood up abruptly, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. This is absolutely disgraceful. How dare you embarrass our family like this? Mitchell, Graham's father said sternly, think very carefully about what you're doing. My son has given you everything. He's given me what he thinks I should want, Mitchell replied, standing up herself. But he's never listened to what I actually want. How can you say no to me? Graham demanded, still on one knee, the ring trembling in his outstretched hand. We've talked about our future together. No, Graham. You've talked about your future. You've planned everything without ever asking me what I wanted. Mitchell's own parents, Heinrich and Maria, had been watching in horror from across the table. Her father finally spoke up. Mitchell, sit down right now. You're making a terrible mistake. Dad, I've tried to tell all of you what I want, but nobody listens. We listen, her mother said desperately. We just want what's best for you. Maybe you could volunteer at the children's hospital on weekends, satisfy this medical interest in a more appropriate way. I don't want to volunteer. I want to be a surgeon. The tension in the restaurant had become unbearable. Other diners were openly staring now, whispering among themselves about the dramatic scene unfolding. Graham finally stood up, pocketing the ring with shaking hands. If you walk away now, Mitchell, you walk away from me forever. Is that really what you want? If you can't support my dreams, then yes. Heinrich slammed his hand on the table, making the wine glasses jump. If you leave now, you leave this family. We will not support this foolishness. Heinrich, Maria pleaded, but he held up his hand. No, Maria. She needs to understand the consequences. Mitchell, if you walk out that door, you'll have no support, no home, no family. Is your little dream worth that? Mitchell felt tears building in her eyes, but her voice remained steady. If following my dreams means losing people who don't believe in me, then I guess I know who my real family is. She turned toward the exit, but Graham grabbed her arm roughly. You'll regret this, Mitchell. You'll come crawling back when you realize you can't make it on your own. Mitchell pulled her arm free and looked around the table one last time at the faces of everyone she had thought loved her. If you ever truly loved me, you'd want me to be happy. And surgery makes me happy. She walked out of the restaurant as voices called after her. Some pleading, some angry, some heartbroken. But she didn't look back. 20 minutes later, Mitchell burst through the doors of General Hospital, still in her dress from the restaurant, makeup smudged from crying. Excuse me, she said breathlessly to the receptionist. I'm looking for Dr. Elizabeth Hoffman. I was supposed to shadow her today, but I'm terribly late. 3rd floor, cardiac wing. But visiting hours. Thank you. Mitchell ran to the elevator, her heart pounding. When the doors opened on the 3rd floor, she saw a woman in surgical scrubs walking down the hallway. A woman she recognized immediately, even after 20 years. Dr. Hoffman. The surgeon turned around, and Mitchell was struck by how kind her eyes looked, just as she remembered from her childhood. You must be Mitchell. Professor Weber told me so much about you. I was beginning to think you weren't coming. I'm sorry I'm late. My hands are really sweaty. I'm nervous. Dr. Hoffman smiled warmly and extended her own hand. Mine are completely dry from all the hand washing we do. Don't worry about it. As they shook hands, Dr. Hoffman's expression changed slightly. Have we met before? There's something familiar about your eyes. You probably don't remember, but you saved my life 20 years ago. I was 8 years old, rushed to the emergency room with a ruptured appendix that had caused sepsis. My parents said I was minutes away from dying when you operated on me. Dr. Hoffman's eyes widened with recognition. Mitchell Schneider, the little girl who kept asking me why I became a doctor. You told me you became a doctor to save lives, and I told you I wanted to be just like you. And here you are, Dr. Hoffman said softly, though you look like you've had quite a day. Mitchell touched her smudged makeup self-consciously. I just left my boyfriend's marriage proposal. And my family. They don't support my dream of becoming a surgeon. That must have taken incredible courage. Or incredible stupidity. Everyone keeps telling me I'm not cut out for surgery. My hands shake when I'm nervous. I don't handle stress well. What if they're right? Dr. Hoffman studied Mitchell's face carefully. Tell me something. Do you believe you're not cut out for surgery? Or is that what other people have told you to believe? Before Mitchell could answer, Dr. Hoffman's pager beeped urgently. Emergency surgery. Want to observe. They rushed to the operating room where Dr. Hoffman quickly scrubbed in. Through the observation window, Mitchell watched as the surgical team worked on a middle-aged man who had suffered a massive heart attack. Aortic valve replacement, Dr. Hoffman explained through the intercom. See how my hands move? Slow, deliberate, completely focused. The secret isn't having steady hands naturally. It's learning to control them through breathing and focus. Mitchell watched in fascination as Dr. Hoffman's hands moved with incredible precision, despite the life-or-death pressure of the situation. "Would you like to try something?" Dr. Hoffman asked after the surgery was complete. "Try what?" "Basic suturing. On a practice model, of course." They moved to a training room where Dr. Hoffman set up a practice station. "Put on these gloves. Now, before you pick up the instruments, I want you to close your eyes and breathe with me." Mitchell closed her eyes as Dr. Hoffman guided her through breathing exercises. Deep breath in, slow breath out. Your heartbeat is slowing down. You're not thinking about anything except this moment, this task. Nothing else exists. When Mitchell opened her eyes, her hands felt steadier than they had in months. "Now, show me what you can do." Mitchell picked up the surgical needle and thread. To her amazement, her hands remained steady as she began suturing the practice model with careful, precise movements. "That's beautiful work," Dr. Hoffman said after Mitchell completed several sutures. "Look at the consistency of your stitching, the evenness of the spacing. This is the work of a natural surgeon." Mitchell stared at her hands in wonder. "I did that. You did that. You know what I want you to keep." Dr. Hoffman handed her the practice model. "So you'll always remember that you are capable of incredible things when you believe in yourself." 3 hours later, Dr. Hoffman and Mitchell sat in the hospital cafeteria, sharing coffee and conversation. "I have to ask," Dr. Hoffman said, "what really made you want to become a surgeon? And don't say it's because I saved your life. That might have planted the seed, but something else made it grow." Mitchell thought carefully. "When I was lying in that hospital bed as a child, I wasn't just grateful to be alive. I was amazed that someone had the power to save me. I realized that becoming a surgeon meant I could give other people what you gave me, a second chance at life. That's the real reason you need," Dr. Hoffman said firmly. "Not because of what others expect or don't expect from you. Because you want to save lives." "But what if I made the wrong choice today? I left everything behind. My boyfriend, my family, my support system. Did you leave them, or did you choose your dreams?" "I chose my dreams." "Then you made the right choice. The people who truly love you will come to understand that." 5 years later, Mitchell graduated at the top of her medical school class. Professor Weber was in the audience, beaming with pride. Dr. Hoffman was there too, having become both a mentor and a close friend. Graham was not there. Neither were her parents. Mitchell began her surgical residency at the same hospital where she had first shadowed Dr. Hoffman. The work was grueling, 100-hour weeks, life-or-death decisions, constant pressure. But she thrived in the environment that had once terrified her. During her second year of residency, she performed her first solo surgery under Dr. Hoffman's supervision, removing a brain tumor from a 6-year-old girl. "Steady hands," Dr. Hoffman whispered as Mitchell made the delicate incision. "Remember to breathe." The surgery was a complete success. When Mitchell emerged from the operating room hours later, she found the girl's parents waiting anxiously in the hallway. "How is she?" the mother asked, tears streaming down her face. "The surgery went perfectly," Mitchell said, still in her scrubs. "We removed the entire tumor. She should make a full recovery." The parents embraced each other, then turned to hug Mitchell. "Thank you," the father said. "You saved our daughter's life." "Can I be like you when I grow up?" a small voice asked from behind them. Mitchell turned to see the patient's younger brother, maybe 7 years old, looking up at her with wide, admiring eyes. "Do you want to help people?" Mitchell asked, kneeling down to his level. "Yes, just like you helped my sister." "Then yes, You can absolutely be like me. But you have to study hard and never give up on your dreams, no matter what anyone tells you. I promise, the boy said solemnly. Years passed. Mitchell completed her residency with honors and was offered a position as an attending surgeon at the hospital. She specialized in cardiac surgery, following in Dr. Hoffman's footsteps. By her 10th year as a surgeon, Dr. Mitchell Schneider had performed over 1,000 successful operations and had trained dozens of medical students and residents. She had published research papers, spoken at medical conferences, and earned recognition as one of the youngest department heads in the hospital's history. She lived alone in a beautiful apartment overlooking the city, but she wasn't lonely. Her life was filled with purpose, colleagues who respected her, and the satisfaction of saving lives every day. One morning, 20 years after she had walked out of that restaurant, Mitchell was reviewing patient files when her assistant knocked on her office door. Dr. Schneider, there's a patient here for a consultation. He specifically requested you, said he knew you personally. Send him in. The door opened, and Graham walked in. But this wasn't the confident, arrogant Graham she remembered. This Graham looked tired, older, worried. He was accompanied by a woman Mitchell didn't recognize and an elderly couple she did. Graham's parents, Friedrich and Ingrid. Hello, Mitchell, Graham said quietly. To be continued. If this story inspired you to pursue your dreams or reminded you that it's never too late to choose courage over comfort, please hit that like button and share this video with your friends and loved ones. And don't forget to subscribe. Hit the notification bell to know when we drop new videos. Also, do not forget to tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Until next time, keep dreaming without limits. See you in the next episode.